pleased to see you all at the 6th International Accountants Conference.
Of the ever-shrinking world. As professionals,
you can be imitated, but you cannot be duplicated.
Keep us proactive and help us shape the future of our chosen profession.
Everybody, please be upstanding. National anthem.
Nigeria's calling to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The names of our heroes shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
The Haiken anthem.
Alexa, no get that one.
No, I can't
Thank you so very much. We may have our seats. For the benefit of those who are just joining us, if you know you are one of the council members, please find your way forward. We do appreciate and we acknowledge the presence of the second VP of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Mrs. Comfort, and the first Vice President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Mrs. Comfort Initayo. You're welcome now. Thank you so much for obliging our invitation. And if you know you are one of our speakers or you are one of the council members, find your way forward. ICANN USA board members, please find your way forward as well. Thank you. We will roll through now and I will hand over the podium to our event planning chair, Mr. Akinola, who will give us a general welcome address. Thank you.
President of ICANN, Mercy Nnamdi Okudugbo, BSc FCA, the Vice President of ICANN, Comfort Initayo, the IPP in absentia, the past President here present, Mr. Sweton, Council Member of ICANN, the Registrar Chief Executive, Mr. John Evogai, FCA, Chairman ICANN USA Board of Trustees, Chairman ICANN USA Board of Trustees, Executive Member and Members of Board, ICANN USA District Society, special dignitaries in attendance, professional colleagues and inductees, ladies and gentlemen. With anticipation in our heart and warmth in our eyes, we welcome each of you as our valued delegate to this 6th ICANN USA District Society. To all our international delegates and participants, a warm welcome to the beautiful city of Houston. I'm so pleased and honored to see so many colleagues here today. Our professors, friends, families, and even an Army General from the Army in our midst, just because of this international accountant conference. This year's economic conference theme, the accountant, tax and IT professionals toolbox in the global economy, the required skills and expertise for effectiveness, has been carefully chosen to align with the current trends, needs, and global realities. The current wave of globalization is taking place precisely because it is part of the beginning of the era of knowledge, a knowledge-based economy and society, in which knowledge is the only meaningful factor of production. ICANN Conference Houston 2019 organizing committee members have worked extremely hard since last year to prepare an outstanding conference and make your experience remarkable. We have arranged good meals. I know there will be some exception to the creation and various activities of your complete pleasure during the conference. Please mingle with others, let's socialize, network, and let's enjoy things to the fullest. We all know that life is good. I hope that these 5 days will give our international delegate and participants an overview of this city of Houston. You wouldn't want to visit the state of Texas without exploring this city. Houston is the most popular city in the state and 4th most populous in the United States. Whether you are here for conference, business, looking for an exciting day trip or weekend getaway, or an embarking on a family-friendly adventure, you will definitely find something for everyone in Houston. This series serves up nationally recognized dining, shopping, entertainment, and nightlife. My special appreciation goes to the event planning committee members for their steadfastness, unflinching support, and genuine commitment to make this conference a success, despite their busy schedules and differences in time zones. A special thank you to the management and the staff of Wyndham Hotel for their support attending our conferences, honoring our invitation, and bringing your expertise to our gathering. Throughout this conference, I implore you all to stay engaged, keep us proactive, and help us shape the future of our chosen profession. Above all, I thank the Almighty God for making today a reality and for His continued protection and guidance over us before this event, during and after this conference. I pray that may He bless each person who took time out of your busy schedules to gather here for this conference, and let His hand of protection be on us throughout this event and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, Tunde Adewale is my name once again, and I want to give a profile. Kemi Akosa Ofili, FCA, was born in Lagos, Nigeria, the third of 4 children to engineer Moda Kafari, a civil engineering graduate of the University College London, and Mrs. Adebisi Kafari, a mathematics, applied mathematics geography graduate of the University College, Ibadan, and former principals of Federal College, Ijanikin, Lagos, and Queen's College, Lagos. She attended Ireti Primary School, Ikoyi, and Queen's College, Yaba, Lagos, for her secondary school. While at Queen's College, she was part of the school hockey team, the Igbo dance troupe, Girl Guides, and the school marching team. She completed her secondary school with A's in all her 8 papers and opted to be an accountant. With the influence of her late favorite uncle, Shonobi, a London-trained FCC, in spite of the pressure to study engineering or sciences like everyone else in her family. She obtained a Bachelor's of Science degree in accounting from the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, OAU. While at Ife, she was the Vice President of the Accounting Students Association 84-85 session, a member of the hockey team that won medals at the 84 and 86 Noga Games. She holds a Master of Science degree in Finance from the University of Lagos and an Executive Certificate in Business Administration from the University of Notre Dame, South Bend, Indiana. She started her career in Pricewaterhouse as a trainee under Mr. Olabode Augusto in 1987. After that NYSC year, at PW, she joined Arthur Anderson in 1988. And her first boss was Mr. Joseph Olutoni Muniz, the first chair manager in Interlit, and then financial controller of Mutual Trust Savings and Loans. She joined Shell Warri in April 1996, developing Shell's methodology to comply with the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. Governance, risk, and assurance manager for Upstream America with staff in the USA, Canada, and Brazil, overseeing Shell upstream assets in North America. Her last role in Shell was Global Finance Manager, providing CFO services to the Vice President of Projects and Wells, whose team sat across the globe from Australia to Alaska, everywhere in between. She is now semi-retired, providing CPA services to clients, including short-term consulting to oil and gas companies, and is an hackathon instructor in the College of Business at Prairie View, American and M University, Texas. Kemi is involved in giving back to her community and church. She is the co-founder of the Queen's College Old Students Association USA chapter, where she served as the first vice chair for 4 years. She is an ordained pastor and volunteer chaplain at Memorial Southwest Houston Hospital. She has 2 children, Kenechukwu, a recent biomedical engineering graduate of the University of Houston, and Joshua, psychology pre-law undergrad and footballer at Brown University, Rhode Island. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the 6th chairman of ICANN USA.
not much to say. I just want to have this on you and wish you well. Handshake. Oh, handshake. Not hugging.
Look off, sir.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Big smiles. One more. Perfect. Thank you. 2, 3. One more. Perfect.
Kosalfili, do solemnly swear that I will bear true allegiance to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, that as chairman of ICANN USA District Society, I will perform my duties and fulfill my obligations to the district and the Institute honestly, faithfully, and in accordance with the ICANN Act and laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That I will abide by the regulations, rules of professional conduct for members and the bylaws of the district, as approved from time to time by the council. I will refrain from acts that will bring the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and the accounting profession into disrepute. So help me God. I'd like to call on the members of the ICANN USA board, the vice chair, the general secretary, who just made it on time, and then the committee chairs, event planning, communications, professional and technical, IT. Who am I missing? I think I got everybody. Please come forward so that I can administer the oath of office. I solemnly swear
that I will bear true allegiance to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, that as communications chair of ICANN USA District Society, I will perform my duties and fulfill my obligations to the district and the Institute honestly, faithfully, and in accordance with the ICANN Act and laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, that I will abide by the regulations, rules of professional conduct for members and bylaws of the district, as approved from time to time by council. I will refrain from acts that will bring the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria and the accounting profession into disrepute. So help me God.
Thank you, board. And I'm glad that we're now all formal, even though we've been doing the work for 8 months. Okay? Thank you. God bless all of you, and God will help us. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.
For the record.
The 55th president of ICANN, Mazi Nnamdi Okwuadigbo, BSc FCA. The vice president of ICANN, Mrs. Onome Joy Adewuyi, FCA. The first deputy vice president of ICANN, Mrs. Comfort Olujumoke Eyitayo. Members of council of ICANN. The registrar chief executive of ICANN, Mr. John Ebudage, MBA, FCA. Past chairman of ICANN USA District Society, ICANN USA Board of Trustees, executive and members of board, ICANN USA, past and current district chairs. I'll particularly like to acknowledge the ICANN Malaysia chair, Dr. Olutoye Popola. Welcome, sir. He's traveled the farthest. The District Society professional colleagues and inductees, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and the representative of the Consulate General in New York, Mrs. Francisca Marino, who is also an FCA. You're welcome. All protocols duly observed. As chairperson of ICANN USA, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our 6th International and 11th Annual Accountants Conference. In spite of the visa clampdown, you all made it. Thank you. The other board members of the district and myself are thrilled to welcome you to Houston, Texas, home of the Houston Rodeo, the Johnson Space Center, former President Bush, Simone Biles and the Olympic gymnast, and most importantly, Beyonce. Houston boasts of cheap gas prices. We're cheap here. The title of the fourth largest city in the US and the diversity on a scale unknown to most cities in the country. We actually are the most diverse city in the United States. Most people know Houston for its oil and gas sector, but not many people realize that Houston is world-renowned for its fine arts and the medical center. The Texas Medical Center in Houston is the largest in the world, boasting of several hospitals and clinics breaking frontiers in the field of medicine and research. The Nigerian community here in Houston is second to none, with the culture and food very visible for all to see. As a proud Houstonian, I'm honored to welcome you to this great city. We hope to show you the hospitality that the South is known for during your time at the conference. I would like to specially welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Babatunde Irukera, the Director General, Chief Executive Officer, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, Abuja. He, at the last minute, had to cancel, but he actually sent his regrets, but he sent his speech as well. We understand that he has now been co-opted to run for Kogi governorship, so he had to stay behind. But he wishes us well and sent his regards and his speech. We decided to name the theme of this year's conference, the Accountant, Tax and IT's Professional Toolbox in a Global Economy, the required skills and expertise for effectiveness. For far too long, accountants have had the reputation of always looking backwards, presenting data at least a month old, imposing overbearing controls like we had on the meal tickets, and not being seen to be a business partner to the teams they support. This year, we hope to equip you with the skills necessary to succeed in a world that is shrinking due to technological advancements, and a world that wants more collaboration out of accounting, tax, and IT professionals. To do this effectively, we have gathered a host of speakers who are experts in their respective fields. Some of these speakers include Mrs. Esia Kionsho, a global partner in the assurance practice of EY. Ms. Meg Britton, a former partner at Arthur Andersen. Mr. Ayo Zubar, the chairman of Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, who also used to be my boss in PW. Dr. Tomini Owolabi, who has been substituted at the last minute also because of some personal challenges, but he's a partner in charge of the oil and gas practice in the law firm of Olanimu Ajayi, a prominent law firm in Nigeria, and so many others. We highly encourage you to attend all the sessions that will be very informative and interactive. Please refer to the conference brochure for the career biographies of all our speakers. You will see that it's quite loaded. We do have various activities lined up during the conference, such as daily indoor games, visits to the Johnson Space Center, the Ocean Star Museum, which is a drilling rig that was turned into a museum. You actually will see what rigs look like. We all are from oil and gas, but very few of us probably actually went on an oil rig. We will see that during our site trip. And the Galveston Beach. You're going to get a taste of Mexican and Vietnamese cuisines in addition to the Nigerian night that we have tonight. And the gala night on Saturday will eclipse all of this that we've put together with the best DJ in town, DJ Akim. You don't want to miss that either. This conference will not have been successful without the tireless team of the Houston 2019 planning team. We want to commend Mr. Adams of ICANN Senior Manager Membership, because he was the one you all went to pay to, or the first contact for this conference. And of course yourselves for being here, having traveled so far, so wide with all the visa and travel issues. We really welcome you. Before officially kicking off this year's conference, allow me to say how honored I am to serve as the 6th chairman of the district. I hope that you all enjoyed the conference, the food, the excursions, and walk away with the love and respect I have for this great city. And lastly, don't mess with Texas. Thank you.
The 55th president.
Let's stand up.
Yes, sir. So, that is the 55th president of this great institute, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. I'll take his profile. I think the president should be profile.
I gave instructions.
Obey the one that is with the microphone. You know, I keep the records of membership, and the president is a member of the institute. Well, our president is no other person than Mazi Nnamdi Okwuadigbo, FCA, who started this journey in accounting when he attended the Zik Institute of Commerce in Onitsha and the prestigious University of Nigeria, Nsukka, where he graduated with second-class upper degree in accounting in 1977. I thought that merited a round of applause. He qualified as an associate of this institute in 1981 and became a fellow in 1987. Well, to hone his experience, as you all know, you just have to have some practical experience before you are admitted as a full member, no matter how brilliant you are and when you pass your examinations. He commenced his professional training with Coopers & Lybrand, a firm of chartered accountants, which is now part of PricewaterhouseCoopers, where he began requisite professional training between 1978 and 1981. And thereafter, he went to test the waters when he joined Gerhardt Nigeria Limited as their financial controller and head of administration. Gerhardt, by the way, is an oil services company and now part of Halliburton. Well, he has, of course, had track records in both administration, finance, and accountancy. He is currently the managing partner of Nnamdi Okwuadigbo & Co., a firm of chartered accountants. The firm he started in 1989. He's also a member of the governing council since 2007. So your president has been serving this institute since 2007 on council. And he has also served in many committees, either as chairman, vice chairman, or member. As somebody who is serving, you know, more work, the harder you work, the more work you get. So the institute has sent him out on several occasions to represent it. He represented the institute at the small and medium-sized practices SMP committee of the International Federation of Accountants in New York, USA. He is a board member of the federal government Tax Appeal Tribunal for the Southeast Zone, and also a member of the Audit Committee of Guinness Nigeria PLC. Clap for the president. At least he supplies us Guinness. President, we can have a carton of Guinness later. Well, as a member, he was a member of the Nigeria Accounting Standard Board. Nigeria Accounting Standard Board has metamorphosed into the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria today, and also serves on the board of Corporate Affairs Commission, known as CAC in Nigeria. Very busy man, I must say. Our president is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, the Nigeria Institute of Management, and is an associate of Business Recovery and Insolvency Practitioners of Nigeria, otherwise known as BRIPA. So So if you have any undertaking work in your company, he's the right man to go to. At the district level, he's a grassroots man. He started at the district level. He was the chairman of Port Harcourt and District from 1989 to 1991 and was coordinator of our Jos, Yenegua, Aba, Ojo, Badagry, and Agbara districts at different times. And I must say, for those overseas districts like USA, Canada, last year he was their chairman.
And I did very well.
Whoa. let them say so. Well, for a man who is so busy, I think sometimes you have to find time to relax. Our president is a member, or was the president of Rotary Club of Transamadi, Port Harcourt, and holds the Paul Harris Fellow Award of Service Above Self and the Evergreen Rotarian Award of Rotary International. Please clap for him. Somebody who puts himself, puts service above himself. You have done very well, Mr. President, and you are still serving. He was also a past Assistant Governor of Rotary Club International District 9140. He was the president of the University of Nigeria Alumni Association, Port Harcourt branch from 1993 to 1997. A keen watcher of the follow up the game of football, table tennis. He's a justice of peace. But I must say, for those ladies that he's been hugging around, he's a happily married man. That is our president for me. The 55th president of the Great Institute of Chartered Accountants. I invite you to present your opening remarks. Thank you.
I want to recognize our past president who is here, Deacon Shetop. He is my very good friend. I want to recognize our council members. I can see Dr. Itofolam Osuji, and I can see Toby. Welcome. Comfort already I've mentioned. Our Registrar Chief Executive, Mr. John Ebudaye, MBA FCA, the Chairman and Executive Members of USA and District Society of ICANN, my very good friend Kenny. The Chairman and Executive Members of other district societies here present, my friend from Malaysia. Guest speakers and resource persons, professional colleagues, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased. I'm a very slow reader, so you have to bear with me. I am pleased to see you all at this 6th International Accountants Conference of the USA and District Society of ICANN. As at date, the Institute's annual international conferences are organized by 4 out of 5 international districts, including USA, UK, Canada, and Malaysia. These conferences are part of the initiatives of the Institute to provide platforms for all our members, irrespective of location, to continually upgrade their skills and competencies. Clap, clap, clap for me. If I finish any paragraph and you notice that I've come to an end, I commend the Chairman, US and District Society of ICANN, Mrs. Kemi Akosa Ofili, LCA. That's it. and her team for sustaining this conference, which over the years has met the professional needs of our members, especially those based in the USA. Thank you very much. The need for lifelong learning has received the interest of stakeholders across organizations and professions in recent times. This is due to the dynamism of the market that requires professionals to remain at the cutting edge of their professions. This conference is another opportunity to interact as professionals and share knowledge on the theme, the accountants, tax and IT professionals toolbox in a global economy. They require skills and expertise for effectiveness. I have no doubt of the benefits we would derive from the conference. Globally, nations are weighing alternatives to improving their economic fortunes. There have been calls for better and efficient strategies to management of resources for growth and development. As managers of wealth and assets, chartered accountants are well positioned to support governments in realizing their objectives of efficient public finance management and accountability. Equally, in this private sector, accountants contribute cost management, strategic planning, productivity enhancement, and profit maximization. All these are required for business expansion and growth in the general economy. Chartered accountants also play key roles in capital accumulation, which is core to economic development. We know that one of the ways to increasing the capital base of an economy is through a robust tax strategy, as well as employing professionals to ensure tax compliance. Tax administration is one area that chartered accountants' experience is most sought after. However, a deep knowledge of emerging technologies is required for accountants to adequately discharge their duties, while our knowledge on taxation and other areas of accountancy are very relevant. Line those things up. Talking to you, you think I know them. I don't know them. I don't know them. The largest annual gathering of chartered accountants in the African continent. Make sure they are there. And I will be at the gates waiting to receive you and give you a warm handshake. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Deacon Shueton. We appreciate you, sir. Just like Madam Chair rightly said, that our keynote speaker, Mr. Babatunde Irukera, regrettably is not here in our list right now, but he did send down his speech. Okay, so I will be calling on one of our speakers, our distinguished speaker, Mr. Akindele Akinyemi, to take that speech on his behalf. Thank you so much, Mr. Akindele. We appreciate you, sir.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. One more time, good morning. Good morning. We are happy to be here. Amen. 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 I will be giving the opening speech on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission of Nigeria. Again, he's not here today, but I'm here and you're here. So we're going to take this to the next level and change the world one accountant at a time. The required skills and expertise for effectiveness is an appropriate and timely reminder of the ever-shrinking world. As professionals, Continuous self-evolution is the only way to stay above the curve. As the world shrinks and as borders disappears, the developments taking place in countries other than those in which we reside increasingly become critical considerations in designing our approach to business. I bring you greetings from Nigeria, as well as some news which may perhaps no longer be news. Early this year, President Muhammadu Buhari signed the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act. And by that stroke of a pen, Nigeria, while we late, joined many other countries in having a full-fledged competition law. As the Chief Executive Officer of the Emerging Competition Agency, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, a dependable dispute resolution process, complaints handling mechanisms, and astute investigative capabilities, as well as predictable consequences, all help to create a reliable environment which businesses need to thrive. Typically, competition legislation addresses issues like mergers and acquisitions, abuse of dominance, price fixing, cartels, and restrictive agreements, amongst others. In investigating most of these, the financial figures become critical. How can we determine that a player is dominant, or that a merger will birth a dominant entity, or that predatory pricing is occurring without an insight into the financial books of the relevant entities? In these instances, the financial books of a company become more than just a record of income and expenditure. They become a lens through which the conduct, approach, or values of a company may be better understood. The tax history of any company has become more than just an indication of tax compliance or evasion. It's also an evidence of size, growth, and even market share. Accurate tax records make it possible for competition regulators to have a holistic view of what is going on in any given market. However, where the numbers are tainted and the books are cooked beyond resulting in tax evasion, it creates a skewed image of the market, veils the true market shares, and leaves us with evidence that conflicts with other vital pieces, thereby creating further difficulty for the investigators. Hence, as accountants, you must understand that beyond tidying up the books of your clients for tax and other financial responsibility purposes, there are several other uses for the data that you create. Competition law is about protecting and promoting market inclusion and growth for the benefit of the consumers, which is all of us. So you must necessarily understand your role in providing data which aids the effectiveness of any competition regulatory regime, as having a responsibility to protect economic growth, market inclusion, and consumer welfare. This is a responsibility that you must always bear in mind in your role as financial advisors to businesses. The usual tendency of any business is to weigh the legal costs of misconduct against the profit that is likely to accrue from it, and then make a business decision on whether to proceed or not. Businesses must bear in mind that attempting to evade lawful regulatory action through unlawful practices come at a cost. It's not in doubt that they do bear this possibility in mind, but it is likely that sometimes businesses underestimate their chances of getting caught. The Enron scandal is a classic demonstration of how such miscalculations can cost the life of a business and the liberty of its directors. As the proverb goes, since the bird has learned to fly without perching, the hunter has also learned to shoot without missing. In a similar vein, regulators and investigators have necessarily adopted to stay one step up or even several steps ahead. Not only are the fines are steep, but the criminal liabilities that directors may potentially be exposed to increases the burden of any advisor, legal or financial. My message is a simple one. It's a call for collaboration. As a financial advisors, your work aids the regulator and your ethics benefits your clients. As a regulator, whacking the big stick is not the goal. Rather, the goal is simply to protect markets, protect businesses, and above all, protect consumers. We would rather take the less adversarial path to reach this goal. However, where businesses by their conduct leave regulators with no choice but to take the combative and tedious path, we will. Dear friends, I thank you for the privilege to address this esteemed gathering, and I wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the representative of the Consul General, New York, in our midst.
The 55th President of ICANSA, Council members, past President. I just want to quickly talk a little bit about what we do in the Consulate General in New York. Of course, the Consulate General is set up by the Act and of course the Vienna Convention by every Consulate General all over the world. It is an agreement by government to take care of their nationals in terms of consulate activities and also host persons in the country. So what are those responsibilities of the Consulate General in New York? We protect the interest of Nigeria and her nationals in America with both individuals and bodies within the limits permitted by the international law. There's a law governing us, like I said. We promote the economic, commercial, cultural, and scientific relations between Nigeria and America within the provision of the present convention. That is, we promote friendly relations between the two states. Of course, you know that we have an embassy in Washington, but the consulate we have in New York, we have in Atlanta, and we're supposed to have one in San Francisco, but it couldn't come up due to disagreement between the two governments. Why do you have consul generals? You have it where you have many Nigerians or many nationals. For example, in America, we have officially we have over 1 million people. When I say 1 million, it means that unofficial, we could have up to 2-3 million Nigerians in America. That is those that registered, we have over 1 million, according to State Department, you know. But normally we know that we have so many unregistered Nigerians here. So we are here to take care of them. So we have, just like they have in Nigeria, they have a Consulate General in Lagos, they have in Kaduna, they have the embassy in Abuja. We have the embassy in Washington. We have New York, you know there are so many Nigerians in New York, and New York covers 20 states. Atlanta 15, Washington 15. Just to let you know that Consulate General New York is a very big mission. We are sizable mission. We are certain, we govern, we help our people, those are in distress, those that want to know, for example, you want to get your passport, you can come to the Consulate General in New York. You want to know about trade and investment in Nigeria, or visas of those Americans that want to go and do business, or they want to go for tourism in Nigeria, we are there to help. Then we help Nigerian destitute, of course you know the meaning of consular. We help Nigerians that are in distress. There are some students that somehow, due to many reasons, maybe their parents could no more send money and they get into problem. We have to go off our way and on our way to help them. We have Nigerians in prisons. We have those that are just thrown out. We can intervene, but we cannot bend the law of the country. Neither do we encourage our citizens to break the law. We must know that. We act as notary and civil registrar and in capacities of similar kind and performing certain functions of administrative nature. We safeguard within the limits imposed by laws and regulations of the receiving state the interests of minors and other persons lacking full capacity who are nationals of the sending state. We transmit judicial and extrajudicial documents or executing letters or commissions to take evidence for the courts of the sending country. For example, you remember the Nigerian the other time? I mean, from time to time we have Nigerians that break the law. You remember the guy that was called the, Christmas bomber, the Nigerian. You cannot judge anybody until he's proven guilty. So we are there to represent. Although he's in jail now, but of course we performed our consular activities and duties in protecting him and so many other people. We have some Nigerians, due to, cultural shock, they have mental health. You have to provide consular, functions, you have to help them and alleviate the problems they go through. We also have Nigerians that have gone into drugs and things like that. So I want to just seize this opportunity to encourage us parents, don't just send these children and feel that, oh, he's 17 or he's 18, he's an adult. Because of cultural shock, the weather is different, they don't have anybody to talk to, and many things here are very unlawful. A girl can say, oh, he touched me, and before you know it is sexual harassment. There's a boy we are fighting over now. What happened? This boy, young boy, brilliant, doing very well, very good boy, the only child of the parents. What did he do? He got engrossed with his peer mates. I think he took ecstasy or something, and he got on him. He followed the girl to the house. He didn't touch her, but for God's sake, now they are tagging him for rape. And it depends on the state. It can be life, it can be 20, it can be 10 years. So these are the issues at times, from time to time, we travel with. There is a man that came here. He's been in jail for over 20 years. What happened to this guy? I just need us to know so that we can encourage our people at home and advise them. You have to be careful. The law here is different from the one back home. What did this guy do? He said that he was passing through and he just saw a man and a woman, they were enjoying themselves, and opened the door. Here it's a free world. And what did he do? I think the guy left and the woman was still naked. So he went in, thinking that it's business as usual. And behold, I don't know, maybe he touched her or he didn't touch her. He's left. But this guy has been in jail. Unfortunately for him, that lady became a judge of that district. So anytime we want to appeal, even let him go back home to go and serve. No way. So this guy is almost running crazy. 20 years. And that was his first time of coming out. He had not even spent up to 1 week in America. I'm telling you. So this guy is there. Unfortunately, he said he was wondering that how can a woman be naked? What's your business? She can be naked. This is not Nigeria. It can be naked. If you look too much, she can sue you. Isn't it? You're embarrassing her. Those that live here don't know the implications of that. So these are some of the things we go through. There are lots of issues. What happened? There's another lady, the girl, the man, and the boy. What happened? This guy, successful pharmacist. But my people that live here will know. Counter drugs, off counter. This guy was doing some off counter drugs. So people go behind, they don't get the prescription, he sells it to them, all these high drugs. Even Panadol here, if you take it too much, can be an offense. So this boy was selling and getting a lot of money. The FBI was watching him. Why? Because the boy has cash down, over 500,000 cash down. They were watching him. Then the wife, I think, and they're members of church. This particular day, I think she saw something in his phone about girls or something, and she got mad. And behold, I don't know what happened. She took the knife, before you know it, slashed his throat. This boy died. What happened? The FBI, they've been looking for him. So when the case came up, do you know that what she said is self-defense? She's just served like 3-4 years. They've released her. So we have to talk to our people at home, especially our young adults, that they should be careful. They should be careful. This boy, pharmacist from a good home, is gone. And it just is self-defense, and that's it. So we want to say that we have a lot of issues in the prison. There, of course, you recently about the 419 thing going on. How our boys are involved in all this? Is it love, whatever, fraud, whatever they call it, and how they mess up, spraying and all these things. And they are watching. They are watching. As you come in, I can tell you they are watching every one of us. You never would know. Yes, everybody. They are watching. You know, they may not say anything, but they are watching. If you think, those that live here know that. You can hide. Even your credit card, a colleague of mine, because you can give your credit card to your children to use, but they must take your permission. What happened? This boy, he used the father's credit card without telling the father. And then they just call from the bank. Did you use your credit card, for example, in Texas? The man said no. Before you know it, they are sent it to the fraud department. And this boy, thank God it was a weekend, because once they hack you like that for credit card, your name will be listed for fraud. So this boy is like, what's going on? He now called the boys. What, did you use my card? That one said, yes, I did. Why didn't you tell me? They have called from the bank. Fraud. So he had to call back, oh, please, look at what is going on. It's my son. He said, did he take your permission? Without your permission, that's stealing. So, luckily for him, it was weekend. Otherwise, they would have sent it to FBI. And once they do that, the boys' record is here. They don't give opportunity for anything. You throw hot water on somebody, police will catch you. You beat your child anyhow. So we have a lot of issues in the consulate that we travel with. Now, I want to just tell us again that the consulate, we work with Nigerians Association like here, Nigerians in Diaspora. We have the Nigerian Independence Parade. I believe some of us had attended it. Even people from Nigeria come around to participate in it. I want to encourage us this year. We're going to have it in October, first week. Please don't hesitate to join in. We showcase our culture, we dance. A lot of people, it's very fun attending. Then we are going to have the UNGA. I know you know about the UNGA. That is the UN General Assembly. It's coming up very soon. That's one of the reasons why the Consul General could not come. And Nigeria is the president of the UNGA. That's a plus for us. We are the president, 74th president of UNGA. So there's a lot of preparation going on. Yeah, yeah, I think we deserve that. Also, recently we have the Nigeria Diaspora Leadership Conference. I think one or two of us here attended that, yes. And it's to unite diaspora leaders from all walks of life. I saw some ICANN members, I saw a representative from ICANN. So really, I want to say that we are getting better, by the way. And I must say that ICANN is a forerunner. We are a distinguished profession that many look up to, and you can see even from the coordination here, ICANN is an association to look up to, and I know that we are not failing government at home or abroad. This is laudable. This is over 150 people coming together for a conference of this nature. You can know that Nigeria is very rich. I mean, in diversity and everything you can call it. So I really want to appreciate the president of America, ICANN. Oh, sorry, chairman. I'm sorry, the chairman of America, ICANN. We want to thank you, Mr. President, sir. They are doing a good job. I must say that you have people to support you at your back. Even if you are not here, you can be rest assured that they are doing very well. Thank you, sir, and God bless you.
And we are privileged to have with us Emeritus Professor Dr. Dele Omosegun here, who will be giving us the big data. Doctor.
All right, good to see you. I'm not yet emeritus, I'm still working. All right, thank you. Today is, well, as you can see, I live in Indiana and I work in Indiana Wesleyan and at Indiana University. Both of them are in Indiana. Mr. Tunde Adewale had invited me to do this several months ago when he was preparing for the conference. And first thing, today is an important member of our society over there. He's a young professional accountant, but also a big community leader in the Nigerian and diaspora organization. He's our Secretary General. And if you know NIDO in America, you will know that the Indiana chapter is called the Mighty Chapter. So today assists in running that organization, so we take him very serious there. But also, being invited to come and talk before ICANN membership is a big privilege in its own right. I remember my days in the university in Nigeria. It was an elite organization as we were growing up, and most of us were dreaming to be chartered accountants in Nigeria, though I took a different path later on when I got to the university. But in economics, as all of you will know this, economics and accounting are joined at the hip. Well, at least that was the tradition in Nigeria those days. And I remember my undergraduate days, we were sparring and debating and arguing about concepts in economics and accounting. So it's an opportunity to come here, and as a college teacher too, we still do some battles once in a while with our accountant colleagues. Economists think we have a better, the upper hand in some of these things. These are honest disagreements. We do not think, for example, that you understand cost very well. We think that you tend to bloat, for example, the level of profit because of the way you understand cost, and economists think that opportunity cost is something we can't do without, but accountants sometimes do cry over spilled milk when they talk about historical costs. But these are exciting. So I said I would not miss that opportunity to come here. And by the way, of course, ICANN, over the years, I'm very happy on a serious note now that this organization is blossoming. It's a dream of everyone growing up in Nigeria. And I can proudly say before you that you have succeeded in doing so and beyond expectations. Of course, in a modern world, professional organizations are often imitated. And yours is not an exception. When I was home in Nigeria, the raging battle between you and the up-and-coming other organization I would like to mention here now. But I can say to your credit that you can be imitated, but you cannot be duplicated. So the challenges are big before you, and since I left home, this behemoth called globalization has taken over all of us. And then your role becomes even more multi-dimensional and more challenging. On top of that, with globalization, I think it was going to happen without globalization anyway. Africans are thinking of coming together, and since you are in the West African sub-region, you know about ECOWAS very well and the big role that Nigeria is going to play there. So these are challenges before you that are working in the accounting sector in trying to harmonize or unify the whole region. And the thing I can say to you is that you have to go big. And going big literally is big data, which is what we are talking about today. All right, this is what I try to do. I'm assuming most of us are consumers of knowledge in big data, because big data is big. Even for those of us who work in college environments, it could be a lonely task, actually. It could be a couple of people talking to themselves. but because of its huge implications for all of us, industry and those who are involved in it over time will have to work to make the knowledge available to all of us. in a way that is useful. So what I try to do today is to make that knowledge available, at least for us to approach the concept and its effects in a multi-dimensional way, so that when we leave here today, at least we have a feel for what big data is and its potentials in what I would say in disrupting our lives. So the first is to try to cast a structure of understanding. It's not strictly a definition, but I try to use some properties to define or to talk about big data. And a colleague of ours had done that a couple of years ago. So it involves what I call disruption. It is disruptive. It is disruptive to us working in college environment, because when I was doing my doctoral work in the late 90s, this concept was not there in terms of, nobody taught me about big data analytics. So it's disruptive to us because we had to go to school again to learn about it. And as you do yourself professionally, you go on continuing professional development courses all over it. That's what your organization does very well. So it's disruptive in that sense. But more important in industry, it's disruptive because different actors, new actors entirely, new storage. I heard our president talk about destruction here, the technology destroying things, but we like to see it in the Schumpeterian sense. We call it creative destruction. So it is part of that creative destruction. You know, it's disruptive, but in a good way that moves society forward. And even though as complex and complicated as it is, even for advanced countries, and even though it's going to be expensive for those in the developing countries where all of us come from, we cannot avoid getting to know it and getting to use it in one way or the other that we're going to be talking about. So it is disruptive for those reasons. All right, so right away, since I have only 1 hour to do this, I try to do many things at a time. Since it's disruptive, part of the disruption already mentioned, so it's accountants talk about cost all the time, but do not also, even though it's expensive to do not forget, as you are very smart, as you do always, do not forget about the cost of doing nothing, okay? So if you say it's expensive, we're not going to do it, but that's where opportunity cost comes in now, which you have to think about. It's expensive in many senses, but relatively, if we don't do something, what is that cost, opportunity cost? So I promised in the brief that I sent to Mr. Adewale about what are going to be the outcomes of this interaction. I said to him that we're going to talk about the 4 V's of big data. In understanding big data, we like all these mnemonic devices, a way to remember things, because the air gates are so limited anyway. We have to find a way of remembering. All right, so the first V that we're going to talk about is the big data is voluminous. It's huge, it's large, it's really huge, and you will see the extent of how huge it is shortly. So it's a question of scale. It's more and more and more. So compared to what? Compared to traditional, conventional data. Okay, so it's big. The other V is velocity, speed. It's data constantly in motion, literally. As we speak here, as you touch your cell phones, as I see some of you do so, you are generating part of the big data, as you know. Okay, so since we are from, actually, when you develop what they use WhatsApp a lot now, but all of us from Africa, virtually, if you have a cell phone, you're on WhatsApp. So to show you the meaning of velocity, it's about 70 billion messages that we are sending on WhatsApp per day. That's an example of volume that I'm talking about big data. It's also very complex. There's differentiation, all kinds of things. So compared to what? Compared to traditional data, so it's unstructured, all kinds of things are there. You can see if anything goes into big data, anything goes in there, it offers tremendous challenge. How do we make sense out of it? That's why only a few people understand it. It's like when you are doing Bitcoin, if you this digital money, and it looks like you're actually more adept in it in Africa than in the developed world. We have little or no confidence in it here. But the one that we use a lot here is Bitcoin. You have to understand how to make a blockchain, right? I tried to do that myself, but I gave up because the opportunity cost is too much for me. So that's big data there for you. It's complex. Okay? So you can see all kinds of data, like sensor data. If you go into a security building anywhere, you want to enter the place and you put your eyes somewhere there. If it recognizes you, good. If it doesn't, you are going back. So that's part of big data for you. It's so complex. And the fourth V is veracity. Veracity, well, of course, if big data is full of all these miasma of data, if you like, how do we know which one is genuine? How do we know it is valid? How do we know it's reliable? So you can see that the methodology now is going to be really challenging, and only geeks are talking to themselves. If you don't join that club, you can't understand it. But we don't have to, that's why I'm here, is that we don't have to join that club, all of us. You can be consumers, you can be in industry and still use big data, because big data is going to affect you whether you like it or not. That's just the problem there. Okay? And so those who can make it available to you will also benefit like in money, really, literally. And that's what they are doing right now, to make it available to the rest of us. So, in that sense, you can see that we are used to fake news in the United States, and the concept sticks with us. As you know, our president is full of this fake news politics. But that actually is part of this idea of big data, okay? So these are the four V's: volume, velocity, variety, and veracity, okay? And that differentiates that from traditional data, which is, we see it as structured, traditional data, okay? What are traditional data? Your sales thing that you do on your spreadsheet, the number of people in your community, in your village, the attendance you take in school if you're a teacher, or the attendance at this conference that you are taking right now that Mr. Adewale is asking you to sign. Those are traditional data and structured data, because we can easily do that calc and put another column there, a row, to say, okay, how many are from Nigeria? How many are from Texas? How many are male? How many are female? That's traditional structured data. The one I'm talking about, the dimensions are so big you can't even try it in big data. It's not possible. That's why it has to be automated. Okay. All right. Okay. So people are going to attempt to capture how many big data we have in there, how big it is. So by 2025, it's estimated, that's about 2 years ago, that we'll be having 175 zettabytes. What is that? What is that zettabyte? We'll see what that is. It's more than the estimate must have been wrong by now. 175 zettabytes of data are going to be generated there by that time. You can see that. So, how do I have a feel for how much data we're talking about? 175 zettabytes. Okay, so we already know about kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes. So the average phone that you have, the one you work with now, I know some of you have more than that, so just coming from Nigeria, you have your data as well, but the average one is about 32 gigabytes, the phone that you have right now. We need 6 trillion of those 32 gigabytes, okay? 6 trillion of them. What does that mean? The population of the world, let's assume the population of the world is about 6 billion, it's about 7.5 billion now. So we will need every one of us to hold 1,000 smartphones. If we're talking about 175 zettabytes. I do know that my cousins and my nieces and nephews in Nigeria hold a lot of phones, you know. I see when I go home. But 1,000 is a lot, even by Nigerian standard, for each person. So this concept, terabytes, zettabytes, the highest we know right now is called yottabytes. Okay, what do they mean? Look at that. If you put your hand on them, yottabyte is like putting 10 to the 24th power. That's what it is. That's the highest we know about space right now, right there. So in other words, big data is really big. But not just big, but it's complex, it's unstructured. It's indescribable. Only by computers can do that, okay? So I compare that to structured data or simple data. Africans make a lot of stories. I've left home for a long time, even though I do visit. I just returned 2 weeks ago, but you still provide us with a lot of data here that we can enjoy hearing more about. I'm sure you know the country called Eswatini. Swaziland, that's right. So the king there, King Mswati III, his number of wives is an example of structured simple data. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about big data here. That's your cousin over there. His number of wives. That's simple data compared to big data. Okay? So one area that you can feel for big data and that I want to talk about is image identification. And that's common all over the place. It's using this technology on neural network. It's like the brain. You know, the brain will sort it out, and then what you see, the work that is gone on in the brain before you see something is a lot. Before the brain, that's exactly what artificial intelligence is, okay, in this case. So let's see what happens. The neural network, that's what it is. So in the neural network, they build it there, well, we can't have a pointer here. So they feed, there's what they call training data. I'll give you a specific example shortly. But if they fit that network there, that thing that looks like a web, they fit with all kinds of training data. So the engineer, the computer scientist, if you want to say, is that a dog or a fox? And we don't try to find out the genes of a fox or a dog. No, we're not doing that. The training data will tell you whether it's a dog or a fox. We just feed that network there with all kinds of pictures about fox and dogs. And there's an algorithm inside that will tell you with probability. There you go. So even though as much as scientific it is, it's nothing perfect about it. But we make it valid and accurate by big data. Okay, the larger the data, the more representative it is, the better in being correct. Okay, so that's the neural network. That's the general principle of using the neural network to identify objects. Okay, but a specific example that I want to show you is the one here. So we have something here we want to identify. We're not sure whether it's a fox or a dog or a cat. So whatever that thing is, you put it right there at the beginning there. And then you beam it into the neural network. The neural network has all kinds of formations of what a fox or a dog looks like, okay? So the image is going to pass through, it's going to filter, and at the end of the day, it's going to give an output. And the output is still a probability. And you can see the probabilities in this case. So if this is an actual experiment, then that object at the beginning is more likely to be a fox than a dog or a cat. Through the neural network. And the more over time you have to perfect that. You can't get 100% because you have to share the probabilities too, you know. So you can never be exactly accurate. Well, the only way it can be exactly accurate is if you have the entire population. as you know from basic statistics. And we can never have that. Our lifetime will not permit that. Cost will not even permit that anyway. Okay? So that's the work of the neural network in image identification. It's part of big data technology. So let's see if we can give you, what does this look like in the real world? Simplified architecture of big data. What I was trying to show there is that Oracle has tried it. One of the best platforms for big data technology, the open access called Hadoop. Most of these things started that way anyway before they went their separate ways. But in the Hadoop thing, who understands it? Only a few people. So what Oracle did is trying to bring it to the average consumer, the average person. And that's what they were trying to show, that even the average person doesn't even follow what is going on there. Because you have to understand basic visualization before you understand what they're doing there. But at least they bring it to the normal college environment that we can teach students or when you are in training courses. So that's what I tried to show there. It could be more serious than that. If you really want to get your hands wet on this, let me know as we go along. I just showed the example of the neural network. Are there limits to what the neural network can do? Of course, I already showed you one. That probability can never be exactly 1. The highest we had there, but they kept refining it. Once you do statistical checks on them, then we can go ahead and do it. Even when you use DNA, it's still all based on probability, 99.9. I've never had them say 100% before in any of these cases. All right. So if, as we say those days, if you garbage in, you garbage out. And when we go to the second section, I'll show you some examples of big data in practice, and I will allow you to take your own decisions there. Okay, so it's critical that number one, what you feed into the training data is really large and representative. If they are not, the outcome is not going to be accurate. Okay, so that's even though it's based on serious science, but since this is based on risk, you have to be careful on what you do. Those are the limitations that come around with neural network. Benefits of big data are clear from what I've been talking about. Who cannot use big data? The real world, when you switch on your electricity at home and your water, you are generating a lot of big data in Nigeria over there. And you folks are so sophisticated, you have various alternatives to the conventional electricity over there, generating a lot of big data. So if we summarize this, the advantages of big data, number one is going to reduce cost for you. You can see that. Initially, the cost outlay is big, but since this is a question of scale, which economists and accountants talk about the economy of scale, you know that the average cost is going to fall over time. Okay, so that's one advantage over there. Then, of course, it's faster. I told you one of the V's is volume, okay, and speed, okay? And then, of course, you know, if you want to be civilized, you have to get used to change. That's one meaning of civilization, right? So what comes with change are new products these days, at least for those in the capitalist setup, okay? Which is, you know, it's like the law of Damocles on all of us, capitalism. We are all capitalists after all, despite our pretensions to the contrary. All right. So this is another one. I think I'm going to skip. This was going to show you a classic consumer. They personalize this to consumers. That's what the big thing about big data is, so that they can squeeze the most profit out of you. So they are targeting you as I was getting ready for this, closing out my PowerPoints yesterday, I had many platforms I was using, and one of the platforms, my browsing said, oh, this is not working well. Do you want to update it? I said, okay, why don't you update it? So it took me to Windows. Windows says, download Windows 10. I said, well, why not? I tried to download it, said, okay, wait a minute. what kind of size of window do you want? It's asking me right there. I never prepared for it. I thought I was going to tell. What size of window do you want? 17 by 26. And I picked one. Okay. All right. I can say next. Okay. Where are you going to use this? This window. Are you going to use it in college environment? Are you going to use it to stream? Is it basic internet? I pick one. Is it going? Okay. This window. Ask me all kinds of questions. At the end of it all, boom, give me a prize. What? that's big data. I'm working on big data and they're collecting my big data right there. They gave me $2,000 for all the choices I made. Now, in conventional sales, when you went to supermarkets those days, there was nothing like that. There were only 2 or 3 options for you to pick from. Now, this is personalized to my taste. Exactly. So it's like, all right, so for those of folks coming from home, even though this is still a frontier thing for you, and you are right at the cutting edge by putting it in front of your colleagues here, Mr. Adewale and all the organizers there, you cannot avoid big data, however complex they are. So someone is going to bring it down to our level, to the level of the average folks, so you better be ready for it. And there are so many opportunities in Nigeria that this can be done. You can see there even our ICANN folks that I'll talk about to you shortly. You're going to benefit from all your artists and your comedians can really use big data down the road. Well, especially now that Nigerian arts is being enjoyed and appreciated all over Africa, that's potential for big data for you over there. Violated in the future, in the world of big data, you're not going to be worried so much about that, but you're going to be worried about creating value from the data. Where is this data real that you are getting? In case you are doing valuation of forensic accounting, for example, it's not just report whether this was done correctly. No, you're going to have the knowledge on how this data was generated and what is the meaning of this. Okay, so that's where I think you should. And what does that mean? Unfortunately or fortunately, you have to be flexible in being trained again. If you don't do that, these days you lose your job, actually. For those of us who are here, if you are not trained, you either become obsolete quickly too, and that's what we call structural unemployment, right? When we teach this to undergraduates. So that is the challenge before you. Okay? So, but otherwise the potential is big. I started at a number of areas. There are forensic auditing, financial accounting, and managerial accounting particularly. Instead of supporting management, I want you to see yourself as a partner in the future of big data as you go along. And what is required of you is training and an open mind to benefit from it. Okay, the challenges of big data. Okay? One is it is complex to analyze. I already said that much to you. The second one is data capture. How do you generate this data? Okay. The third one is the curation of data. These are part of the skills that you need again too. That what brought big data about was actually search. Okay, years ago, when they wanted to not only store but also be accurate in searching, and from there, once they know that industry was interested in that, that's what eventually led to this big data analytics. So it's still, and then how do you share it? These are some of the challenges there. Then I mentioned that it's very disruptive. Storage is a big deal, okay, in big data. Some of these challenges are actually opportunities. How do you transfer big data? The visualization, I already spoke about it a little bit. It's so complex. You have to be really trained to do that. You're already interested in it. And government itself is actually suffering from big data problem. If you understand the election problems in the United States, that's part of big data problem. And of course, just in the Western world, while when the Consul General representative spoke about privacy and the woman being nude, and to an average Nigerian, a woman being nude is a different cultural thing. So information privacy is critical. And the culture is going to spread all over the world that way because of the era of globalization. Yes, that's where we're going with this, absolutely. But because at the end of the day, when in the big data I'm talking about, it's totally different from what you are doing right now. It is not, you cannot use an existing tool to understand it. You can't even, like the neural network I was talking about there, the results going to be generated by, the system is so complex that it's a section for sifting, there's a section for what you do, like regression analysis now. All those methods are in a complex system. So once you run your papers through the accounting data, through the training data, they're going to generate to you right away. If you had been able to see what we were trying to show there, when you click a button, there are all kinds of graphs, like descriptive statistics are going to come out for you. Who is going to do that? Something is being done by another system in the big data setup, analytics. Yes, absolutely. It's automated. No, even right now, that is being done anyway. It's not available to the average person right now. But it's going to be available to all of you at the time it gets to you. That is financially and commercially profitable. Right now, it's not profitable to you. Okay, let me just speak to that ahead of time. Every company like First Bank, UBA, EcoBank, they're not going to be able, even in America, they're not going to be able to afford your own big data setup. What is going to happen is like going to a cafe, like cyber cafe at home. You're going to go with your data there. There's going to be, the system is going to be there for you to use. After you use it, then you leave. That is the ways of the future, right? Right now, it's just owned by a few companies who have the money and they are profiting from it. But down the road, that's where we're going with it. You're going to be able to have your results in time, right away. It's going to be available to you. I can assure you that. That's the easiest part of it, actually.
Bob Osaga is my name. ICANN number 3424. About leveraging on opportunities for big data. I just wonder how we can address something like a national population in Nigeria. Over the last years, we've always had problems with accounting for the number of human beings in Nigeria. Right now, it's estimated there are about 200 million. Some people are of the view that that is way overboard. To my mind, I don't think we're more than 150. But I wonder if using your neural model and incorporating all aspects of biometrics, DNA, and what have you in the modern world today, we can have a proper national census using all the variants, such that if we use automated fingerprint identification, for instance, it can, bounce off if there's a double registration or, whatever. But I looked at your neural and I thought this is something we can take back home. I don't know how it will work, but while you were speaking, I was trying to develop something out of it. I wonder if we can think through that, maybe leverage on it and see if we can produce something to advise our home government.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I must drop this caveat that big data is not going to solve the Nigerian problem right away. So, first thing, that big data is digitized data, okay? So, how do you get that? So, I give an example. When I go home, I like to take Uber a lot. I don't have the skill to drive in Lagos, I'm sorry. And either I get killed or someone will kill me. I can't do it. So I like Uber. So Uber works very well in Lagos, and that's to your credit. Those who have been working on this over there. But when I went to Ijebu, I thought it was going to work over there, and I went to the rich part of Ijebu. I was calling Uber. It's trying to search. I It didn't work for me. I said, no, Uber doesn't work in this area. Really? So the reason I mentioned that to you is that the digital data has to be there for it to work. So in the case of census, so that data has to be fed electronically first. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. So the basic work has to be there where you're getting this data from. Well, in the Nigerian case, over time, like Lagos did this Uber thing very well, it works very well. Maybe over time, if they can survey the rest of Nigeria and put them into Uber there, then you can start using modern and complex technologies to estimate us more accurately. You can do a lot with even the Uber population to estimate how many people live in a certain area. You'll be amazed how some of those things can be done. But that underdevelopment problem has to be overcome first, and being able to count accurately by being able to have a sample frame that really represents Nigeria or the area you're trying to work on. But what is going to eliminate that we are suffering from right now, like some of the legal battles in the Nigerian court about the elections that they messed up in the INEC. Big data is going to solve that problem. I remember the party that lost and questioning the accuracy of what they brought there before the judge as we follow the news here. In big data analysis, that error is not going to be there. I can assure you that one. But in terms of what you feed in there, big data is not going to solve that problem for you. I mentioned that to you, and we're going to see some examples if we get there. If you feed in garbage, you're going to get garbage. Because the neural network is not going to tell you, it's going to tell you who is Ado, who is Shakiri. It's going to tell you, okay, this is someone from the south side to call the south. Okay, how does the person from south side look like? No, it's not going to tell you which one is speaking a particular language. It's going to give you pictures of those who are from south. It doesn't even matter what they speak. Okay, so that's what neural eventually is going to identify this person is from south. Okay. Did you see the difference there, what big data can do and what it can't do for Nigeria? All right, go ahead, sir. Okay, so one more question, then we'll go to the examples and see how you feel about them. Yes, sir, over there. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah. We can turn the whole thing to a question if you are interested. We can leave the example. I can post the example in PowerPoint for you if you want to take a look at them. The answers are there anyway. The PowerPoint examples I got that we're going to go into, the answers are there. You will be convinced that these are the correct answers anyway. All right, we can take questions. Is that okay, sir? That's fine, sir. All right, go ahead.
Prof, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
My name is Larry Abidaku. Membership number 7814. Well, as we await applicability, I just want to make some observation, regarding your intro that you talk about the economics, opportunity cost, and then we are accountants, probably we don't, what we look at is different with what economics.
Let me get my check first before you talk from today.
Because that's what you said, but because as for most of us here, accountancy in Nigeria has evolved and has moved on, and it has moved on from what used to be normative accounting to positive accounting, and it has also moved on. That's why we have, just as an economist, maybe you don't know that, Nigerian accountants are key into international financial reporting, standards and all that, of which we had roadmap for the private sectors, even down for government sectors and so on. So accountancy are moving because the standard is to unify. That is, whatever we are chipping out in Nigeria is the same thing, whatever is being done elsewhere in the world. So it has taking care, the standard have taken care of the issue of cost and all that, and every other facet of, you know.
I don't think you should take it as serious. Number two, seriously, you're not going to become economists and we're not going to become accountants. These are professional distinctions. I don't think there's room for flexibility to accountants the way you define costs. It's a professional disagreement and they're both valid. We're looking for, I don't know if I made myself clear. For example, if you are computing cost, right? So if you are computing profit, it's revenue minus cost, okay? Which is what we do too in economics. All right? But what goes into cost, yours is direct. Okay, if you can't feel it, it doesn't exist. You have to, right? Economists disagree on that. Okay? All your historical costs in decision making, there are no costs in economics. We call them spilled milk. You can't correct that. That's part of what you do, but that's part of what we do. So if you want to say, decide whether to buy a plant or not, or to expand, accountants are going to compute the direct cost, but economists are going to compute, okay, well, I leave the United States to come to Nigeria to advise you. You pay me, right? That's okay, you're going to compute that into the cost. But economists worry also, how about the movies I go to watch with my families in the United States? I'm no longer able to watch all of those now. Accountants say, that's not going to be computed, but economists worry about those things. These are professional disagreements. They are genuine, both sides are correct. There's nothing wrong about it, my brother, to do that. And I am surprised, I will be surprised if you can drive from Lagos to Maiduguri and showing you where to stop, I will be surprised. I don't think that exists in Nigeria. Sorry? Sorry? No, Google Map alone, but it can't show you the villages. It's not going to... Hold on. If it can show you, why would it not work in Ijebu? No, but Uber they use the platform, the same platform. They buy them. Okay, so let's the way this. Hold on. All right, so at least it is in my lifetime that Google Map was developed. And I remember when we started using them in the 90s here. Hello? So there was something that came up on WhatsApp 2 days ago. When I went to Lagos last year, when I was using Uber, the voice there was a foreign voice. Okay? And when they were calling those streets, I did not understand them, even though I was away for too long. Now, when they change that, when the change is going to it, they now can call Tedio Show correctly. Right now. That's the kind of thing. If someone doesn't go there to change that, how is it going to work? That's the point I'm making. So in the Uber case, someone has to invest, the resources there, but someone has not invested in it, just like the governor did in, I don't get involved in your politics, but when I went to Abeokuta, I was totally impressed by the city, the urban development there. It transformed, come to think of it, Abeokuta is a historic city in Nigeria, period. What happened to all those governments before the last one about the city infrastructure, the roads in Abeokuta? I know that the governor concentrated purely on Abeokuta and left Ijebu and all of that. That's politics for all of you. But what I'm saying to you, that he picked it up. What happened to all those years in Abeokuta, you know? So someone has to go there and do it. That's the point. The resource is there. I'm not saying it's not there, but it's not been done. That's the point I'm making. Google Map is for the whole world. Of course, when I'm in my village, I see my father's hut right there. When I'm in Indiana, I see a still picture of the front of my father's house. Right? I know it's there. Sorry?
Doctor, do you still want to take more questions?
Yeah, because we're not going to that session anymore. I'll post the slides. Let's continue this. Looks like you are interested in this. Let's go, let's do it.
So let's make this the last question.
Okay.
After this question, we go to this.
Okay, we'll show about 2 of them. Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Patrick Sani, membership number 15194. Big data is becoming a major issue across the world. But in Nigeria, even if we are talking about it at all, we are talking in silos. We do not have a central arrangement. Alternative sources to petrol. We are, as at the moment, expending resources to look for petroleum product elsewhere in Nigeria. Now, by the time we really need this big data to help us achieve and move forward, we'll still be lagging behind. So I think what we really need is a government agency that will harness all these things put together and actually consider it as a major issue where everybody is looking up onto, and we can build capacity around that area. But now what we have, yes, you come to US District Conference, you have some information about this, you go to Canada Conference, you have information about it, and by the time you get back, what's the use of that information? So until, as a nation, we make up our mind that we want to move forward, alongside the other nations of the world, you may not really get far.
Yeah, I think he already answered the question for me. You know, it's a challenge for all of you. He passed the buck to you. But this is serious stuff that he talked about there. Because who else can afford to attend these conferences other than you? So if we go back and we do not bring these benefits to changing our society, we are doomed. That's what he's saying, and that is correct. Look, I can give my personal story here to support him, that we have to take you more than coming to a conference and having camaraderie. This is the future of our nation, of our grandchildren coming. The future of Africa totally is at stake. But the opportunities are big, however you look at it. But do you have the courage to be different from what is going on over there, that you know more than me? Let me give you my own personal story. So my mother died while I was completing college in 1983. That dates me right there, right? So I've never been able to bury her because I ran away. I was actually, okay, let me tell you more about me. I was teaching at the University of Sokoto before I came. The National University Commission sent me overseas, like those days, to train. But when I finished in 1996 my PhD, I couldn't go back because Abacha was there messing up big time. Nobody wanted to go back home then. So I was stuck here for all this while, and I don't think I'm stuck here now. but then the pressure was on me to come and do the final burial of my mom in Ondo. I'm from Ondo State. When we were preparing for 2 years ago, last year, it was a question of, oh, can I go to that or a road and go to my village and all of that? Okay, but this year, my university did not permit me to go, not because of road, but because of security. We were talking about youth unemployment, lack of water, and all of that before. Now, my friends who have, you people, like are sitting here, you're able to, government, okay, if you can't give us good road, you're gonna let us be safe first. How can that be in Nigeria? How can that be? And the people in power are you and your cousins and our friends and classmates. I think that's what the brother is talking about there. We got to, at a point, have to have the courage. Okay? Otherwise, we will get stunted forever. Let's go to the practicals here, please.
I apologize that I answered the question. I'm Dr. Dominic Eche. My membership number is 13726.
You have many numbers? How many numbers? Just kidding.
Where we are going now, we are going from history to politics to astronomers and all those. Please, because we mentioned something about population. I would have thought that we are talking of a big data. is something that we can use to solve such enormous national problem, like unemployment, university,
my name Harold Okere, Dr. Okere. ICAN number 88302.
Thank you.
Okay, and it's U.S. combat. I don't know whether, can I say that better? It's reciprocity from CPA to ICAN. That's what I have on my receipt, on my screen. I know when you mentioned earlier, first of all, you have a PhD in economics. There's one of us here who is a CPA, who's an ICAN member who also has a PhD in economics. He's in this hall. I heard them talking about their PhD in economics. And that one is also an accountant. So when you mention it in passing, when you introduce yourself and mention the dichotomy between accounting and what you wanted to do and then how you became an economist, you mentioned it just in the introduction, not that you're saying accounting is inferior to economics. I want everybody to understand that.
That's correct.
Okay. And when we're talking about big data now, constrained to one area only. You can, if you're doing audit, you can use big data analysis, analytics to get the information you want. So it's not a question of badgering or trying to divert the issue from big data theory to population or to how we're going to do something. The way we can do something is that we're going to agree to get, if we count one, and that one is one, then we can get a fair election or fair this and that. So I don't know what we are asking here from the presenter.
That's fine, sir. Thank you. So to accommodate the two of you, you are both making senses to me, but as the last speaker had just said, however we pretend to be scientists or be objective, and again, I'm in economics, and we pridefully say we are the queen of the social sciences, okay? Again, if you want to fight with me on that, you can fight with me, but this is just, we're just talking here. What I'm saying, but there is no queen of the social science. There's nothing like that. There's nothing totally objective. In other words, the culture. See, let me tell you my story again, talking about big data. If I don't tell you the story, it doesn't have any meaning to you. Like you said, big data is not from economics at all. The reason I'm interested there is the analytics. Okay? So, when I was trying to do my dissertation, okay, I was going to try to do culture and development. I went to school in Illinois. And I went to the expert on economic development. Okay, can you supervise me on culture and development? He said, Dele, what is that? There's nothing like culture and development. They are not related at all. He gave me one big book to go and study, growth recurring, big book, that doesn't recognize culture and development. I said, really? And I came from Nigeria. I was already a lecturer one in Sokoto before I came. We were always talking. There was a book we used to call Todaro, Economics for a Developing World. It's talking about economics from the developing world, totally different from the developed world, and it's bringing culture into it. Here I am in the United States, they say culture and development have no meaning at all. If I do that, I will not pass. I had to pick another topic, poverty and economic growth. Of course. But when I finished, now we can talk about culture and development. I think he's nuts to tell me there is no relationship between culture and development. Totally nuts. I can't help him. Even though he was my teacher, but he's coming from an ideological position. That's it. So what we are saying here is, you want to know what is big data. The first is that you cannot obtain big data outside of the digital form. And everything he has said will pick up from there. If you garbage in, you garbage out from there. So it's related to everything. The population we are talking about is still going to be the Nigerian factor if we do not solve the cultural problem. The neural network is not going to do magic. I told you, you feed in their training data. If you have seen this example we're talking, I had an example for you there about loans, right? To taking loans in banks. And I put an example there, the Nigerian geopolitical zones. So it was found in that example that the application for a particular geopolitical zone was being denied. So how does big data help here? How can we help? Is it by acquiring, I asked you some questions there, by acquiring more data, because the first solution in big data analysis is that the bigger the data, the better. But what I was trying to show in that example is that in the training data, they had fed in application from that geopolitical zone that were denied. So when they ran it, the neural network was picking up only the denied data from that zone. Of course, this is garbage in garbage. Even if you expand the data 10 times, it's still going to give that result. The reason I'm emphasizing this is, don't think everything is cookie cutter, as they say it here. Culture is important. It's going to be operated by human beings. Unfortunately, you remember the case of the plane crash in Ethiopia and other parts of the world. The danger now, Bill Gates said this, that the danger now is not how useful all these things are to it. The danger is that they're going to overpower us. Technology. We cannot allow that, the world will be destroyed. The same way the outcome can be really bad if the culture is bad. And that is what Nigeria has to speak to. The first is governance. Because the government has bigger control over our lives in Nigeria than in the United States. Never mind the craziness going on right now. People carry on their lives in the United States without talking about the presidency. They just laugh when laughter comes. They earn their living. But in terms of sheer size, the amount of budget in the hands of the governments in Nigeria, you can't do anything. So the culture is critical. Even though we're talking about mathematics and analytics and artificial intelligence, they are not totally rolled out. If you can't count ourselves correctly, what can we do that is going to be correct? And we're not counting ourselves correctly because of culture, the way we interact with politics. That's what I mean here. So we're not totally off base, in other words. If we can solve the cultural problem, our relationships, look at it. I mean, which nation is doing better than our children overseas? Where are they coming from? We wanted to use the neural network to identify Nigerian dishes all over the world. You know, we can pick Nigerian dishes. So, are we here? Okay.
Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I have, bless you. So I have the example, of course, because it's a ubiquitous Nigerian name. So it's using machine learning, you know, that's for an algorithm that classifies photos of restaurant meals like sandwich, pasta, salad, all kinds of moi, everything in Nigeria. So she traced a neural network, the picture I had for you before, on a large open database of photo of restaurant meals, any restaurant, just put them there. She then tests the network on local restaurants and notices that the Nigerian restaurant meals aren't classified correctly. They're not correctly identified. How does she know? Because she knows Nigerian meals, right, when she sees them. Right? This is the garbage in, garbage out we're talking about. All right. So what's the best way to improve this result using big data? Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see what answer we got. Well, one option is she can program rules into the network about what Nigerian meals look like. One is that she can add Nigerian meals to the training data set by finding photos online, crowdsourcing or taking them herself. She can reduce the size of the training data set, or she can double the size of the training data set by finding another open data set. Okay, let me see what you pick. Which one do you pick? B. B for boy? Okay, any other answer? E? Oh, there's no E. Another answer? Is everybody picking B? A. Okay, we have A, B. All right. B again. D for David. That's my name. Okay. We have A, B, D. So nobody likes C, because that's clearly wrong. We can't reduce it. All I've been saying today will come to naught. You know what I mean? If you pick C. Okay. So in that sense, B makes sense to me. But But let's see what D is saying. D is also very tempting because that's the essence of the bigger the data, the better. But what you put in there, if it's not representative, there's nothing you can do about it. So I would pick B for that reason. And I think most of you, that's where you are. Correct? Okay, the other one is resume. This is so common here, and I'm sure in Nigeria, I see when I read your newspapers that you guys are doing things correctly. It's just the environment is so hostile to what you want to do, as much as you try. See, in Nigeria, as I move around all over the place, we can actually do without our government. Our government is the problem. When I go to the villages, you are prospering. I go to a lot of places, but I have to disguise before they kidnap me. And I have to call your president now if they kidnap me. You are doing the right thing like any other people in the world. I'm not saying it because you are here, because I've seen it myself. But our government, you cannot ignore our government. Here you can ignore the government to a large extent. We cannot ignore our government. They are too powerful. That's our colonial history. There's nothing we can do about that. The government has to do better. Without it, we're going nowhere. I can assure you. All right. So resumes, this is a typical one. So recruiters are using this to track the resumes that candidates send for their job. Many applicant tracking systems use the algorithm, big data. So they use it to rank resumes. If you receive 10,000 resumes, how do you physically do it in the old way? No, the big data is going to automatically rank them for you now using trained data, you see. All right, to help recruiters sift through large quantities of resumes, which of these algorithms will benefit the most from big data? Okay. All right, first one. An algorithm that is trained on resumes from already hired applicants and ranks based on similarity of those resumes. An algorithm that computes a score based on the length of the resume and the average length of the words. An algorithm that parses the job history and awards a higher score to candidates that have worked more jobs. An algorithm that awards a higher score to resumes whose words overlap with words in the job description. This is a tough one. D as in David? I had D as in David, okay. What else? B as in boy? Sorry? Oh, A as in apple, sorry ma'am. Okay, we have A and D. Anything else? A and D, okay, let's go for it. Let's start with D. An algorithm that awards a higher score to resumes whose words overlap with words in the job description. Now that violates big data idea right away there, because the data points are so few there. Remember the question is, they need an algorithm to automatically rank the resume. You don't need an algorithm for that one. So let's see A. Of course, look at the trend there. That should attract your attention, for all are the same all day, right? Yeah, they can't say, okay, well, this one is from Sweden. I think they have a work ethic over there. No, that's not what big data is doing. I think big data is learning from discrimination and oppression. So that methodology is trying to avoid the kind of thing we did in the past that caused us a lot of pain. So for that reason, I would pick A if I were you. That's it. Yeah, so all the other ones violate all we've been talking about. Okay, let's go to the job resume and then, bank loan. Let's do the bank loan. Since you folks work with financial data a lot. It's a Nigerian bank after all. All right. So a Nigerian bank is using the same thing that Ngozi was trying to do there. Nigerian bank opts to use machine learning for deciding whether to award loans to applicants. Typical problems in everywhere, including Nigeria. The engineers create the algorithm, big data, by training a neural network on their large database of previous loan applications and decisions made by loan officers based on that. After they start using the algorithm, now they study for new loan applicants, they receive complaints that their algorithm must be biased because all the loan applicants from a particular geopolitical zone are always denied. Are you going to guess which geopolitical zone that is? Well, no. This is just an exercise. Okay? All right, let's go. I'm sure when the politicians are going to talk, they will say it's my geopolitical zone because we are oppressed. if we invite the politicians here, that's what they're going to tell us. So what is what is happening? The system screwed up. We want to say if it's the system that screwed up or the data, we don't know. But the system now has messed up really because it's rejecting everything from a particular geopolitical. The managers, the officers are not happy with that. That's not, you'll be sued, right? All right, so let's see what happened. What is the most likely explanation for the bias from the machine? A random fluctuation during the algorithm training stage accidentally introduced bias. Well, I don't think this is impossible because you have power fluctuation in Nigeria. Anything can happen, I'm just kidding. Can introduce bias over there. Then the other one is for that geopolitical zone, the training data set only has loan applications that were denied. C, the training data set was not large enough. A programmer must have added rules to the algorithm to make sure it always denied applicants from that geopolitical zone. Oh, that's also a possible rule. But we are trying to eliminate those possibilities. This is where the problem is, what you were talking about when others are saying culture is important. This can also happen in Nigeria, right? And then they confound the result. Correct? Right. Apart from the data you put in, corruption can lead to that kind of a thing in our homeland. Okay? All right, let's see. So what do you pick here now? B as in boy? Yes. For that geopolitical zone, I think so. Let's see what happens. Yeah. That's it. So let's see what happens. The first one, you see what happens, like the fox, dog, and cat example I gave to you, each of them had probability. They have some semblance of truth in them. So in the last one that we talk about, in big data, we do not allow the programmers to program rules of their own there. So that will eliminate that problem in the Nigerian case, okay? We don't allow them to do that. We use training data for that purpose. They can still go there and mess it up. That's why validation, remember, veracity is part of the definition of big data. Someone has to dare to do oversight. Otherwise, look, we were getting passport here, they talk about New York consulate office. I'm from Indiana, we have a good history with them. But we were doing this years ago, a number of consuls. Yes, do you want to say something? Okay. The capture thing, we couldn't get the thing, they said they had to talk to Abuja. Okay, before they come. We can't get this in America, no, we have to talk to Abuja every time. All of a sudden, when they said, Abuja said there's trouble with the capture. Really? We can't get it done? Well, what happened? Well, the thing is not working anymore. What happened? They said there's an error somewhere. Who's going to fix it? We don't know. So they can go there and do, despite that the system has been validated not to do that. If you are smart enough, computers will obey you. And Nigerians are very smart, to say the least. All right? All right, I think that would end it. That's good enough. I think so.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Moshebo.
Dr. Moshebo, on behalf of ICANN USA, we would like to thank you for flying all the way from Indiana I don't know how they call you big or mighty, but would accept it. You can't be as big as Texas, but would accept it. I'll call on the 55th president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria to present you with a thank you plaque that we have made specially for you to just honor what you've done. Thank you, sir.
I like to make presentations like this to those who have done us great. How far is Indiana from here?
It's far.
Wow. In recognition of your contributions to the success of the 6th ICANN US International Accountants Conference, hosting 2019, no certificate can be greater than this. We thank you for finding time out of your busy schedules to be here to present these papers. If I tell you I understood what you are saying, I didn't understand it, but I'm sure those who know about this topic understood it. I didn't understand it because I found it difficult, but it's a new thing to me. It's a new thing. So we urge you to continue developing this topic as much as possible and to be able to deliver it to audience wherever you go. So whenever they invite you, please try to come. You have made a mistake of coming here. You know, when you are on top of an iroko tree, you plug all the firewood there before coming down. So we'll always invite you. Thank you. Thanks. My pleasure to hand this over to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
The 55th president of our great institute, ICANN, Mazi Nnamdi Okwadibo. All members of council, including the second vice president, Mrs. Eyitayo. Oh, excuse me for that. Including the Registrar Chief Executive Officer, Mr. John Evodage, my sister and colleague from Pricewaterhouse. I said Pricewaterhouse, not PwC. The chair of ICANN USA, Mrs. Kemi Akosa Ofili, members of the ICANN USA Board of Trustees, Coordinating Director, FIRS, Mr. Abiodun Aino, all members of ICANN, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to present a paper on the use of tax strategies for global economies to drive growth. Every economy is dependent on interplay of two primary policy directives, fiscal and monetary, which is the means by which government adjusts its spending and tax rates, and through which the central bank influences the nation's money supply. Taxation falls squarely within the purview of fiscal policy. Its importance as a major fiscal policy tool derives from it being a major, if not the most important source of revenue for almost all governments globally, and also as a veritable tool for subtle, indirect wealth resource redistribution in any economy. It is safe to assume that every individual has come across the word tax, either by way of academic discourse or by somebody tapping into your pocket. There is no doubt that over the years, the tax base of various jurisdictions have grown substantially, which has impacted positively the global drive for good governance. Tax in recent literature has become synonymous with revenue as exemplified by the organization. Sorry, I got a bit carried away. Tax in recent literatures has become synonymous with revenue as exemplified by the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, definition of taxes as revenues collected from taxes on income and profits, social security contributions, taxes levied on goods and services, payroll taxes, taxes on the ownership and transfer of property and other taxes. The total tax revenue as a percentage of GDP, which reflects the share of a country's output that is collected by the government via taxes, is also a principal index for policy formulation initiatives and comparative studies, research of respective national economies globally. It is important to note that economic growth is measured in terms of increase in GDP over time, sometimes monthly, quarterly, or annually, though quarterly is more of the norm. GDP is total value of final goods and services produced between 2010 and 2014. For any nation to experience economic development, the increase in the GDP must be inclusive. It must reflect in the gross household income of most, if not all, strata of the population and sectors of the economy. Some form of symmetry is sufficient, as complete symmetry is nirvana and beyond the capability of any nation state. That's the perfect state. We talk about the relationship between tax and economic growth. Tax is a major source of government revenue all over the world. Governments have and still use tax proceeds to render their traditional functions, such as provisions of public goods, maintenance of law and order, defense against external aggression, regulation of trade, etc., to ensure social and economic balance. The tax system of a country is a major determinant of other macroeconomic indices. A. Arroyo in 1997 in a study stated that there are pointers to the fact that there is a relationship between tax structure and the level of economic growth and infrastructural development. Government needs to raise money to fulfill its obligatory responsibility to the citizens, and taxation is usually by far the most important source of government revenue. Tax strategies are critical to achieving economic growth, as tax rate cuts may encourage business entities and individuals to work, save, and invest. Such rate cuts must, however, be complemented with efficiency on the part of government by spending cuts to avoid increased budget deficit. Tax policies can also affect the supply of labor in the short run, as a cut in payroll taxes could bring more workers out of the labor market or encourage those already working to put in more hours, which invariably can translate to increased output. Economic growth entails expansion on the supply side of the economy and ultimately the GDP. It is tried knowledge that well-articulated tax policies have the potential to catalyze economic growth. Increased tax revenue can lead to sustained economic growth if the taxes are efficiently spent on infrastructures that enable all entities to thrive. Looking at tax policy and strategies. Tax policy expresses the intention of a government with respect to tax administration within its jurisdiction. It provides a framework for deployment of appropriate tax strategies, highlighting what taxes to levy, the amounts, rates, and on whom. The policy initiators usually deliberate on the tax structure to be implemented and how they will affect individuals and businesses. It must be stated that every economic policy, tax policy inclusive, will have both microeconomic and macroeconomic aspects. The macroeconomic aspect affects the overall collection, while the microeconomic will affect units that make up the whole in terms of the taxpayer. Some empirical examples on the importance of interrelationships between tax policy and tax strategies are as under. The OECD has a whole division devoted to tax policy and statistics called the Center for Tax Policy and Administration. It is an interdisciplinary team of economists, lawyers, statisticians, and policy analysts focused on providing internationally comparable revenue statistics and delivering high-quality economic analysis and tax policy advice. The OECD Tax Policy Review Report on Slovenia, published on the 21st of August 2018, showed that there is need for a comprehensive tax reform that rebalances the tax mix away from employee social security contributions towards personal income tax and less distortive taxes such as value-added tax and recurrent taxes on immovable property. In the United States of America, the Office of Tax Policy develops and implements tax policies and programs, reviews regulations and rulings to administer the Internal Revenue Code, negotiates tax treaties, provides economic and legal analysis for domestic and international tax policy decisions, and provides estimates for the President's budget, fiscal policy decisions, and cash management decisions. A revised national tax policy was approved by the Federal Executive Council in Nigeria on 1st February 2017. This was a committee that was headed by Professor Abayomi Soni, and it set broad parameters for taxation and related matters in Nigeria. It recommends simplification of tax administration and revenue collection as it provides a set of guidelines, rules, and modus operandi that would regulate taxation in Nigeria, which all tax stakeholders in the tax system can relate with. One of the main objectives of the national tax policy is the need to increase Nigeria's non-oil tax revenue to GDP ratio. Another area addressed in the national tax policy is the need to focus more on indirect taxation, thereby widening the tax base. We look at tax strategies implemented by global economies to increase tax base and drive growth. As can be deduced from the examples stated, tax strategies that are capable of stimulating economic growth are not limited to rate cuts only. These include, but not limited to, 1. Adoption and deployment of ICT facilities to ease compliance and widen taxpayer base. It's very key, that we all leverage on technology. It's a major strategy. Others include tax amnesty programs in various forms, sector-specific tax concession scheme, creation of free trade zones or special economic areas, support for fintech companies with cutting-edge products to facilitate financial inclusion, which ultimately enables better profiling of tax residents. That's particularly key in an economy like the Nigerian economy, where a lot of the transactions are done in the informal sector, and increasingly a lot of businessmen even avoid opening bank accounts in the regular banks, financial institutions. So with the I am pleased to see you all at the 6th
as professionals